Chris Nowrouzi, you are the CEO of FlyGTA, among other organizations related to travel, tourism, and experiences regionally, nationally, internationally. We'll get to all of that. Thank you so much for taking the time today to join me on the Fact Up podcast.
Thank you, and it's truly a pleasure to be here.
What were you doing wasting your time before the age of 4? And how did your life change at the age of 5?
How do you know that number? Really funny you say that. Yeah, so my passion for aviation started really, truly at a young age. I loved fighter jets in the beginning of my life, and where I grew up back home was I was beside an Air Force training base, and literally one of my first memories was an F-14 flying by my window. And my uncle, when I was a kid, took me to the Air and Space Museum. And that's it. Like, I just truly never lost sight of it. I continued with my passion. And, you know, I didn't really come from a family of wealth or anything like that. So it was kind of all on my own shoulders to try to make sure that I can make my dreams come true, and just took it step by step throughout my teenage years. I really was just, you know, going and watching airplanes behind the fences and so on. When I was 15 years old, I walked into the airport and said, guys, I really just want to work here. Whatever you got, I want to do it. And that time they told me the best thing to do is to go back, speak to your co-op teacher at your high school, and speak to them, let them know that you're interested in aviation and flying. So I did that. And sure enough, the next semester at that time, I got into a co-op position at Toronto Buttonville Municipal Airport. So at 15 years old, you know, having just started high school, basically, I started my co-op position. And honestly, I felt so rewarded every day I went to work. And I was one of the people that, because everything was procedural and technical, I would try to take over all of the load from everyone just so I could learn, right? So by the time my co-op was over, they basically said, we can't have you leave. we want you to join here. And it was a really good experience. So that was at the age of 15 when I got my first job at an airport as a flight school dispatcher. Really started from the ground up, and I was working on the ramp moving aircraft, and I'd get up like 4 a.m, go coordinate airplanes for the first flights that were going on. And I went through, you know, once I finished high school, I basically did all of my flight training. I went to York University at the same time, but did all my flight training at that time at the flight school that was at Buttonville Airport. And I was doing it paycheck to paycheck. I didn't really have, you know, a big, there's no OSAP that helps out. There's no sort of a service that helps out. So every paycheck I would get after 2 weeks of working, I would go on like 2 flights, you know. So I did that. I got my private license, and then I spoke to my family and said, hey guys, you know, I really need everyone to come together and help me out. So my family did come and back me up, and I was able to get a professional student loan. And, you know, the reason I like to share this story is because I know a lot of people go through exactly the same thing, especially with no government assistance, and just a lot of handcuffs, to be honest, in the industry, especially when you're looking to start up. But I was able to get a professional student loan. Then I intensified my flight training. Throughout the same time, I had become a ground school instructor at the airport. I became a delegate for the Minister of Transport with civil aviation, and I was doing licensing and examinations of different things. So I intensely went through my commercial training and got my instructor rating as well. And I ended up working at that airport as a flight instructor, ground instructor, and everything associated with it. And it was a big operation. We had 45 airplanes, 65 pilots, 20 dispatchers, 25 ground staff. And by the time I was 18, I was managing the entire operation. So on top of that, we had about 500 aircraft tenants. So, you know, Buttonville Airport in its peak days when I was there was, I think it was 7th busiest airport in Canada. And I remember like sitting Yeah, I would sit in line for takeoff, and I would be number 17 for takeoff, number 18 for takeoff. So,
Wow.
um, yeah, and one of the busiest airspaces in the world. Truly, people think that you go to New York and places like that. It's just the same in a busy flight school environment when you have that many aircraft, right? So,
Sure.
I got very quality training out of it, and by the time I was done, I'd worked there about 11 years, so I was about 26 or so.
Hmm.
And they announced the closure of Buttonville Airport, that the land had been sold. A company called Cadillac Fairview had come on board, and they were looking at developing everything from hotels to shopping malls to everything associated. At that time, I decided to start my own company. I thought I had enough experience, so I had no money at all, as I mentioned.
Hmm. Right.
I had no money. I remember I had a Visa card with $20,000 on it, and I had no airplane. So I joined up with a friend of mine who had an airplane. I made an agreement with him to buy half of the airplane, so not a whole airplane, and went with my credit card. Moved to downtown Toronto, and I found literally a closet at Billy Bishop Airport, which acted as an office for me.
Right. Right. Right.
So went into that office, and as I like to say, put pen to paper and literally just started writing all of the manuals and everything required to start an airline.
Right.
Uh, huge process that I had to go through. It took me 8 months of double full-time work to put all of it together, and acting as operations manager, director of maintenance, all the associated positions that required me to get an airline license. There was a lot of examinations. So examinations, interviews, processes. So I went through all of that, and I'm somewhat of a salesman from my younger days as well. When Kijiji started up, I was buying and selling everything I could on Kijiji, so making my life that way, which is if you talk to a lot of the people that knew me when I was 17, 18, they would say, "Oh, this guy was trying to sell me jeans at the airport one day."
Is that
So
right?
yeah, so I'm proud of it though. It's where I
Sure.
came from, definitely, right?
Well, humble beginnings in life, humble beginnings in business. Uh, my question for you is: were your parents stressing out about your passion at that age, or were they stressing out and grateful at the same time that you had found your path at such
Uh,
an early age?
yeah, it was definitely a combination of I guess grateful and stressing out, because when we walked into the flight school for the same time and looked at the numbers it was, and the fact that they told us, "Hey, you're not going to get any help from anyone to pay for this,"
Right.
definitely it
Sink or swim.
yeah, exactly, right,
Right.
exactly. So, and I couldn't do it for several years, so that's why I tried to do it myself, and I think it got to the point where they just realized, like, he's going for it, so
Yeah.
we have to all just figure something out and try to make it happen, because it seems that he's not deviating from
Right. He's not going to become an accountant and work in an office. All right.
it.
Before we get into the details of Fly GTA and what it's all about, I want to know what emotion comes to the surface for you personally when I say the word flying. What does flying mean to you?
No, freedom, complete freedom. I can uh, I can honestly say, despite obviously there are things associated with being a CEO, a pilot, and everything that goes on revolving my work and my life. Every time I go into the air, it all goes out the window. It really, nothing matters, and I land and I start going back back into the real world.
Right, right.
It is complete freedom, and it's something that if you haven't tried, there's a lot of ways that you can give it a try and see if you like it as well.
When you have it on autopilot and it's quiet around you and you're in middle of the day or middle of the night, what thoughts come through your head? Like where does your mind wander off to when you have that serenity when you're flying and everything is kind of in control?
Uh, I wish you didn't ask me that question,
Oh,
but
okay.
no, honestly, it's one of the things that you know almost every flight, when especially when you're flying at higher altitudes and you see the curvature of the earth, it's about the world. It's always about I can't believe how small the world is, truly. And I go from I'll get up on a day, I'll go from Toronto to Las Vegas, and then I end up in the Bahamas. And the people you meet, and the experiences you have, it's truly amazing. But every time I'm in the air, I can see, a portion of the globe rather than a map of the earth type of idea. um, it really makes you realize how small the world is, and everything that goes on in the world, and how we're so lucky these days, that we're able to travel.
Indeed. I mean, you operate FlyGTA, and it's an airline based out of Billy Bishop, in downtown Toronto, on the island. For those who don't know what FlyGTA is all about, please grace us with the good news.
Um, well, we COVID was difficult, and we made it through COVID. We're starting back up with all of our tourism services, which is where a lot of my passion lies. We are able to travel internationally, but we mainly focus on North America with our private jet services. So, with regards to business travelers and leisure travelers, we certainly are capable. We are an airline that is not what we call a management company in private aviation. A lot of private aviation companies manage other people's aircraft in general, but we're a true airline. So we own and operate our aircraft. We have crews on schedule 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. But we're certainly able to serve, and we're expanding. So now we have a few locations. We have a location at Billy Bishop Airport, Buttonville Airport, which is where I started, Niagara, Oshawa, Muskoka, and we've just opened up a new location in Montreal, actually. So we're moving to the Montreal market as well, and I think, in my opinion, we're one of the ones that are bringing complete new solutions to private aviation, and really we're able to bridge the type of gap that currently exists, where a lot of people don't have information about private aviation and how to travel, how to book, and thinking the costs could be astronomical, where for a lot of flights it could be reasonable if you're going with a group or a family. So we're here. I encourage people to look into what we're doing.
So if I'm a guy, which I am, and I have a few friends, which I hopefully do, and I want to go on a leisure trip, where are the possibilities? Where am I going, that Fly GTA can get me there in a matter of really quite literally minutes?
Yeah. So we have our domestic services, which we mainly focus on domestic tourism with one of our group companies, Visit Canada, which we basically connect downtown Toronto and Buttonville Airport to places like Niagara for wineries, Niagara Falls, Kingston for everything Kingston has to offer, Muskoka for the lakes, cottage country, and just commuter traffic generally. So those are domestic services, and our non-scheduled services we focus a lot on in the summertime. We'll see a lot of Boston, Chicago, New York, Hamptons, places like that. And in the winter time, we'll see a lot of Caribbean. So Caribbean being from Florida, Bahamas, to Turks and Caicos, Dominican Republic, and every island you can think of.
It's an amazing thing to consider, the fact that you can go from downtown Toronto to the Niagara region in less than 15 minutes.
Yeah.
And you can be in Kingston in 40 to 45 minutes, and Muskoka in less time than that. So it's an amazing thing, guys. The website is right above here. Click on it and just find your itinerary and find your adventure. It is much more affordable and accessible than you might think. But Chris, what do you hear most about customers loving the most about Fly GTA?
I think from the beginning, our staff make it very pleasant. So from your booking stage, to where you're greeted, I think it's a very pleasant experience. It's a I don't want to say luxury, but it's generally almost an exclusive experience, because you're flying from private terminals to private terminals. There's no wait times. You come on board. We go generally lower, so when we're traveling domestically, it's basically a sightseeing flight and travel all in one. But yeah, a lot of people just really like the fact that they don't have to do it the way that they used to before.
Right,
We
right.
get that a lot, oh my God, I used to drive, 2.5 hours every day. Now I'm flying for 10 minutes, like it's rewarding to hear that. But we definitely get that comment, on almost every flight. If
Right.
it's a new passenger, there's always the same experience.
Right. Well, you mentioned COVID. Let's talk about COVID. How did Fly GTA fare during the pandemic, and what positives come from COVID as they relate to Fly GTA? Seeing that you do offer, flights, tours, and packages.
Yeah. Well, obviously, in the beginning of the pandemic, just like every other business or almost every other business, it was full total shutdown. So for several months, we didn't operate, and stay at home orders. We were all just trying to figure out what the heck is going on. Once we opened up, unfortunately, more than 50% of our business did not, which was the tourism services package and general domestic travel. Um, so we've kind of been completely held off on that side until very recently. But our private jet services, certainly with the airlines and closures. So in the beginning of the pandemic, we started to do a lot of repatriation flights. So Canadians that were stuck all over the world, we would go pick them up and bring them back home, basically. So we happy to have helped out a lot of people in a very, very difficult time. After that, we focused mainly on private jet travel. There was a lot of essential travel that we were focused on, so we were flying quite a bit. But until recently, we actually opened our bookings on July 1st, and as of this Friday, July 9th, our air tourism operations are starting, and we're expecting to open all of our packages as of next month. So it'll be including summer and going into the winter packages. But that's basically what we went through. A lot of the focus for us in the downtime was upgrading our aircraft, refurbishing our aircraft, focusing on software systems. So we tried to keep busy, even though we weren't flying. So our business was entirely open. A lot of people were working from home, but glad to say everything is coming back.
Yeah, a lot of challenges and a lot of investment to the positives of
Yeah,
what's to come, right? Uh,
absolutely.
in your professional opinion, what changes can we see in the travel industry in general, including and especially how it, got decimated? And decimated is a very underrated word
Yeah,
because of COVID.
yeah. Um, Airlines are definitely going to have a very challenging time. Number one, just on an operational level, coming back online with what's associated with coming back online and retraining pilots and staff and everything that goes into it. Airlines are going to have a difficult time operationally. I foresee increased prices. A lot of the airlines were able to get government funding. They are, there are so many vouchers outstanding that essentially once they start up for the first couple of years, I can't see how they would be making money. So the only strategy that I can see is somewhat the entire industry increasing its rates. So that's what I think will happen in the short term. Travel itself, I think, Europe, country by country, places are opening up. As of July 5th, which is now passed. Now, fully vaccinated travelers do not need to quarantine or do the hotel quarantine or 14-day current quarantine, and they only have to do one molecular test upon arrival, which we are immediately seeing increased demand for people looking to travel. So even though the prices may increase on airline travel and vacation travel, I'll say the private jet side, I think prices will decrease because the volumes have gone up so high that the industry is completely different from what it used to be.
Mhm.
But I think that there's a major bubble that will burst, and everyone will need to get on vacations, get on the beach, and it's completely understandable. As long as we can do it safely, I think I can't wait for it myself. So.
Your other organizations, you mentioned visitcanada.ca focuses on Canadian experiences everyone can enjoy. Vitajet.com gives people a chance to experience curated international adventures, which is awesome. Talk about how your other organizations that I just mentioned will help people fill their travel voids.
Yeah. So let's talk about Visit Canada first, because definitely one of the big projects that we've been focused on. Visit Canada traditionally was about bringing people to Canada. Because the borders were closed and no one could travel, I think Canadians started truly looking in their own backyard. I can't tell you on my Instagram, uh, a lot of throughout the open and close phases of the pandemic, I saw a lot of people traveling from this side to East Coast, or Banff or Vancouver. So I've been seeing a lot of people more interested in domestic travel, which is absolutely wonderful. Um, there's a lot to see in Canada, and I think for Canadians, because a lot of the people don't like cold, as soon as there's a available vacation, it's always about let's head to the sand, let's head to the ocean, right? But
Right.
I think it opened up a lot of eyes with what Canada has to offer, and it is truly one of the most beautiful countries in the world, and there's so many things to do, and even not necessarily across Canada, even more localized domestic tourism. With the things that we do, for example, Muskoka and Niagara, Kingston, and generally Northern Ontario. There's so many things to see that people that have lived here their whole life completely have overlooked it all. So I think that from Canadian travel and Visit Canada, we're expecting to see Canadians travel in Canada versus foreigners traveling Canada, which is makes me happy.
Right. Yeah. And what about your other website?
So Vitajet, we are awaiting, to be honest. Vitajet is something that we had created before the pandemic, and we were in our launch phase with it. But unfortunately, when the pandemic happened, people stopped traveling. But basically, Vitajet's concept is packaging private jets, which is something not available. So you'll go to websites like Expedia or redtag.ca, or all of the ones that exist, which are the online travel agencies that sell you packages. Nothing like that exists for private jets. If you were taking a group of, 6 people, 8 people, 15 people, whatever it may be, to be able to have somewhere that you can go view a package, click, and just like the airline experiences where you show up somewhere, they take you on the flight, then they put you on a bus to a hotel or a resort. We're kind of creating the same scenario with private jets, where we'll fly you out from your private terminal and private airport, and the nice thing is it opens up not just from Pearson. So you can depart from Buttonville Airport, you can depart from Niagara, Kingston, all these different places where haven't had air service, and you can go directly to your Bahamas destination, where your black car service will take you to your private villa or high end resort. And the pricing for it, to be honest, it is truly compared to higher end what you see on the airlines. So price wise, you have to always compare it to first class service. Generally, it's been out of reach, it's been above first class, but we're bringing it into pricing that matches up with first class. So it's complete new things for Southern Ontario and Quebec.
That all sounds terrible, Chris. I'm gonna get you some rapid fire questions.
Sure.
Rapid fire questions, 10 of them. There's nothing rapid about this. Take your time, okay? And there's
Okay.
absolutely no pressure. We're not live. Preferred travel themed movie: Airplane or Die Hard 2?
Airplane.
Best life advice you've gotten?
You never know who's watching.
Ooh, that
Yeah.
is intriguing, especially at this day and age, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And it could be positive or negative.
That's right. What keeps you up at night?
Possibilities.
Oh, your brain's working. Do you have a notepad next to your bed?
No, I don't. It's all up there.
Dead or alive, who would you love to have dinner with?
Michael Jordan, I would say. He's a cool guy, and I think he's been an entrepreneur on top of a professional athlete. So interesting person to sit down with, certainly.
I agree with you. Of all the personal questions I could ask you, what's one you wouldn't want to answer?
I want to answer that.
That's my man. Texting or talking? What do you prefer?
If I'm flying, texting. If I'm on the ground, talking.
Flying towards a sunrise or flying towards a sunset?
Sunset.
Poutine in Montreal or a glass of wine in Niagara?
Glass of wine in Niagara.
Oh, favorite place to lay over?
Baha Mar at the Nassau, Bahamas.
Is it because of the food?
It's because of the people and beautiful beaches.
Awesome. Last one. When I say the word travel, what does that mean to you?
Small world. That's what that means to me. I mentioned that earlier, but small world. It's accessible.
Chris Nowrouzi, the CEO of FlyGTA, you're an incredible person, my man, and I've had the pleasure of meeting you once in person, and now we're chatting over and we're doing this podcast. I want to thank you so much for taking the time today, and I wish you nothing but health, happiness, and continued success in all your endeavors. And I sincerely hope to see more of your name in the headlines as we pass this really kind of dark period and we move towards the light and positivity and hope.
Thank you so much for everything, and I really look forward to flying you soon.
Oh, cheers, mate. I look forward to being in the not in the shotgun. I think that would make me pretty scared, but in the back somewhere. Cheers and stay well, Chris.
All right. Thank you so much.
Ciao. We wrote the